All right, so this riff is going to float between two different pentatonic positions, position 3 and position 4. Really common way to get from one place to another is just sliding between different, basic pentatonic positions. Now we are going to throw in a little passing tone in there, but it's a really simple riff, and it's cool because, a lot of what we do oftentimes, like I was saying before, is up on the higher strings. It's cool to learn some riffs on the lower strings as well. So, let's zoom in and break this one down a little bit. All right, so let's break that riff down really slow. One more time. All right, so as I said before, it's in between positions 3 and 4 that this lick falls into place here. So let's go over what position 3 is really quick. It's one of my favorite positions. So you take the first 3 strings, the E, the A, and the D, and what's cool about it is they're all the same thing. So it's not like you're memorizing a bunch of different finger positions. So it's going to be 10 and 12, and we're in A minor. Right, and then we got 9 and 12, 10 and 13 on the B, and then again 10 and 12. So you have 4 strings on the same fret, which is always nice, right? And then position 4 is the same 2 on the E and the A, so we're gonna have 12 and 15. Then on the D and the G, we're going to have the same fret spacing as well, a whole step apart. So it's going to be 12, 14, G is 12, 14. Then we're going to take that whole step gap and just shift it up 1 fret. Now we're going to be on the B, and that's going to be 13 and 15. Right? And then we're going to have 12 and 15 on the high E. So I highly recommend you really learn both of those positions because there's so many cool licks in blues that are based right in that area. And like I said, it's really cool to be able to swing back and forth between 2 positions or more. You can go from one end, right? And that's going, just sliding, a couple of the strings per position all the way up the neck, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on the lower strings for this. And we're going to start off with a slide. Now, it doesn't really matter. You can slide with your second finger or your third finger, but I would keep it one of those 2 because we're going to go to our first finger here on the next string. So, slide. Alright, so all I did there is I slid from 10 to 12 on the E, and then on the A, I went from 10 to 12 picking, or you can do a hammer on. And then what I did was I went down to the next string, the D string, and I flattened out my third finger. So what I do is now I'm going to get one of those passing tone notes in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hammer on with my pinky to the 13th fret and then pull off to 12 and then pull off to 10. So we got right? And so we've kind of gotten into position 4, because you can right, there's position 4. Now, when I make it that a hybrid scale and I put all those little, mix the major and minor together, you get all those notes in there. So what I'm doing is I'm basically just pulling from major and minor together. And then after I do that hammer on and pull off, I'm going to go back to 12 on the D and slide up to 14. So we've gone from 12 to 14. And then I go with my first finger. Again, I'm sliding with either the second or third finger. You know, as it gets up closer together, as the frets, you know, the gap gets shorter and shorter as you go up the neck. You know, a lot of people will interchange whether they're doing, you know, 1 and 2, 1 and 3. I like to keep it open because I do a lot of 3-note per string runs too. So I like to, you know, make sure that my pinky and third finger work together well. So I try to, you know, 1 per fret basically is my rule of thumb. Right, so we got that slide, and now we're just going to go 12 and 14 on the G. Now you can expand that lick. So that would be more of like, you know, a beginning of a phrase. So we're going. We can also come back. And do that stacking thing I've been talking about. As well, you know, make that part of the lick too. That's the first way, or now again, that stacking would be A string 12, D string 12, A string 12, and then we'd go to 10 and do the slide from 12. Right, so from there, you know, now you're in position 4, which is a very common position, right? But it's a cool way to slide into that so you're not just always up on these higher strings, right? It's nice to go down into the lower registers as well and kind of get into that more bass sound, and it's a little bit thicker. And then when you start low and come up to the higher notes, then it really punches through at the end. So you start kind of low and then bam, all of a sudden you're up in the higher registers, and it really catches the ear. Especially when you start doing stuff that's not specifically right out of a scale. When you start throwing in those passing tones, it's a nice way to really grab onto the ear. It's also a cool way to throw in a different rhythmic pattern rather than just going, which is cool. You're throwing in different timing. You know, you can go up to there. You know, resolve back to A, right? Here's our A minor chord. So when we're going to here, it's nice because that's your A, right? So you can bass. It's always nice to resolve there. So when we come to that spot in our riff, we could end the riff right there, and you're safe because now you've resolved back to A minor, which is the scale we're basing everything out of. So check that out and incorporate that into your playing. Don't forget the lower strings. They're really fun to mess around with, especially if you're into that, you know, Texas kind of sound, whether it's, you know, Stevie Ray or ZZ Top or whatever. They play a lot on the lower strings. So incorporate that in your arsenal of riffs. All right, let's move on to the next one.